I want to talk to you about something entirely different. It's a subject I have spoken about before. Cancer. Now, why am I want to talk to you about cancer? Well, I'm a cancer survivor. Indeed, this year I'm a cancer survivor. I was operated on earlier this year, in mid-February, for two major tumors internally um, that were next to my pancreas, and I was very lucky, very lucky indeed. I was playing with my grandchildren in the swimming pool and throwing them around like grandfathers shouldn't do, really, because we're not really fit enough to do that sort of thing. But I did, and the consequence was that I got a hernia. And when I went in for the medical exam about the hernia, they just did a routine checkup, and they discovered that there was something rather more wrong with me. So there you go. And that ended up, I ended up having all sorts of endoscopies and so on, and biopsies, and finally they put me under the knife and sliced out a chunk of my tummy and saved my life. All because had I not played with the grandchildren, I would have been dead within a year or two. And I know some dear people who have had their cancers discovered too late. There's one sister of a friend of mine, who has breast cancer, too late to operate, and she's undergoing chemotherapy weekly, on a weekly basis. That's harrowing. I get a little chemotherapy once a month. That's bad enough. But mine is preventative, just to make sure. Now that they've done the operation, that there's nothing. Weekly chemotherapy, that must be murderous hell. Oh dear. Little prospect for a better future. I mean, these things, and so many of us will get cancer, and perhaps we don't talk about it enough. The the issue is an important issue. I mean, there are so many. Going in a different direction for a moment, miscarriages. Now, not enough people talk about miscarriages. My son and his wife were trying for their third child. Thank God, and the grandchild was born just recently and named Gabriel. Jabril in Arabic. Lovely name. Beautiful. A little boy. They had two daughters. This is their third child. And I don't think they'll probably have any more. This is their third child. And what a joy it is to see that. But, however, what I'm trying to say is the she had a number of miscarriages. My daughter-in-law had a number of miscarriages, and it's harsh, but they're so common. Why don't we not realize that it is really common to have, for a lady who's slightly older trying for a child, to have a miscarriage? It is extremely common, and we don't know that because we don't talk about it. It's one of these things nobody talks about, and they should, maybe, because then women who are in that situation wouldn't be so bothered and frightened by it. I mean, it's distressing. Of course, it's distressing, but it's part of life. It is the way it is, and the fact that we don't mention that it is not unusual at all is a shame, really. And that's the same with cancer. I mean, 1 in 3 of us will develop cancer at some time in their life. God willing, most of us will. Well, they're close to a cure, they say, aren't they? They're talking now about new methods which will make cancer into a kind of chronic disease rather than acute disease. There are methods they can use now to use the genetic code, your genetic code, or the genetic code of your cancer, to actually defeat the cancer itself. And this is a new innovation, and hopefully, inshallah, it'll change the world for cancer sufferers. But the point is that people don't talk about that enough either. I don't think people need to say about their problems. And yes, it's interesting too. It changes you. I've said this to some of my friends. I've even said it on a YouTube video, but it changes your perspective very dramatically when you get cancer. I mean, the first instinct is to kind of make a bucket list. Boom, 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 boom. I want to do this before I may die. So you make your bucket list. I remember I did exactly that. I wanted to go to Cairo. I wanted to get with my old best friend, or one of my best friends, and spend some little quiet time. I wanted to get my poetry published. You know, little things that I wanted to do before, if I was going to fall off my perch, before I did so. So I made my little list, as people do. Then you get into hospital, and that all changes. All you want to do is come home. My goodness. I mean, you just want to get out of this dark place. I was in hospital for 9 days, and I remember... Sorry, I was in hospital for a lot longer than 9 days, but certainly for longer. A couple of weeks anyway. But but I had nil by mouth for 9 days. So, you know, I just fed through a drip in the veins. And because they were cutting my innards, my guts. Sorry, don't mean to be too graphic, but anyway, they were, and then readjusting the plumbing inside me, so I could drink nothing, not even a sip of water. I remember the first day I came round. You're on these drugs, you know, they put you on these opiates, these really strong drugs. And the first day I came round, and I just was so desperate for a drop. Just a sip of water, just a little sip of water. No, there was this nice nurse, Nurse Judy or something, but pretty lady, and she said, no, you can't have anything to drink. Just a little water. A sip. No, said the nurse. And that night, I had this vivid dream. Oh, you have very vivid dreams when you're on these high dose painkillers, you know. I had this vivid dream, and I was in I don't know whether you've ever seen the movie Ice Cold in Alex. Perhaps you haven't. It's an old movie, but basically they stagger through the desert, and they get into Alexandria, and there's a bar there, and there's a barman that pours these survivors a pint of beer, and the condensation on the edge of the pint of beer. I mean, is because it's so cold, you know. Well, it was an image like that, except it was a soft drink that was being poured for me. There was a barman there. He was pouring a drink from non-alcoholic drink, ginger ale and fruit juice, but it was ice cold, and there you could see the condensation on the glass, and I was so thrilled. And I was reaching out my hand for this in my dream, for this ice cold drink that I was so desperate to have. And Nurse Judy comes up beside me, reaches her hand out, takes hold of the glass, and says, "No, you're not having that," and takes it away. Unbelievable. In this vivid dream, I mean, how cruel could you get? Anyway, gosh, you have some dreams. And I was full of dreams actually at that time. I could go on. I would go on, but all I want to say is that you get out of the whole cancer situation. You get out of hospital. You finally recover, and it takes a while to recover. And even now, I get very exhausted. Sleep 2 or 3 times a day, you know. So recovery is a long process from cancer operation if it's a severe one. But you get out of this, and it does again change your perspective. Because in what way? I guess your priorities change a little. You don't want to sweat the small stuff. You want to get on with what matters. You haven't got time for the arguments and the annoyances and the fuss and getting stressed out about little things. So, in a way, you're a better person, I think, for having been through that kind of life-threatening situation in that way. Been in life-threatening situations before, but they're more transient, you know, in war zones or in minor operation. Well, it's not the same. These when you go through a long old haul and you are in a dark place, that's different in a way. Not that I envy anybody in a war zone, God knows that is awful, but all I'm trying to say is, and I'm sure that must be hugely changing, life-changing, but all I'm trying to say is that yes, your perspective changes. In some ways you're less tolerant after major surgery of that kind, because you realize how precious life is. And life is precious. We should cherish every precious moment and try not to waste it. And that was my thought. And I hope it helps anyway. God bless.